In Surf, we distinguish between unit surf, where the main goal is to gain and retain as much speed as possible with little to no rapid mouse movements, and technical surf, or tech surf, where the main challenges consist of executing precise spins and turns while avoiding floors, walls or other obstacles. 90% or so of all maps do not purely fit into either of these two boxes, so we have a lot more categories, some being highly subjective, some surprisingly specific, whilst others are unsatisfyingly broad. But this video is not about the 90% of maps that do not easily fit in one of the two boxes. And also not even about all the pure smooth unit maps. This is about tech surf. And we will look at the purest and hardest tech map in existence. A map that only consists of turns, spins and weaves without any break. A map that at full speed has only ever been completed by 10 people in the world. A map so far away from the normal surf that some consider it to not even be surf, but a completely own type of map. This is the story of Surf Blackheart. Let's go back for a second. Back to the old days of surf, where there was no such distinction between unit and tech. Mappers just tried a lot of different things in mapping, figuring out what makes good challenges, obstacles or gameplay. It would not take long for the first, what we call now, tech maps to appear. In them, the main obstacles for the players to overcome were spins, forced spins, weaves, quick turns and small gaps and holds, and in order to finish with a good time, you have to do all of these highly precise movements with as much speed as possible. The discovery of the usage of turn binds was very important for tech surf. Turn binds are, well, keybinds that make you turn. But don't make the mistake thinking that that's something like cheating. It's not. It makes all of the higher tier surf just possible. Because in surf you want to have a low mouse sensitivity to gain the microcontrol needed for well executed boards and overall smooth gameplay. Some pros even use turn binds with a low rotation speed on wide turns because it allows for smooth, consistent turning and being ready for a very precise board of the next ramp. Turn binds support the mouse movement. They do not automatically do anything for you. It is more accurate to see them as a new skill you unlock in a roleplay game that makes what you learned so far easier, but also unlocks new challenges where turn binds are mandatory to even have a chance and are considered by the mappers during the mapping process. With that being said, back to the timeline. The first pure technical map was released surprisingly early in 2010, Surftronic, by legendary mapper and innovator Sandra Nueva. Sandra. Tronic was the first symmetrical, almost fully vertical map in surf. And while it got much praise for its innovative design and gameplay, it also got criticism for its difficulty. Tech surf was always a less approachable, less intuitive type of surf. That's why there is no real beginner-friendly tech, because a spin is by nature just not beginner-friendly. And so is a weave or a tight gap to jump through. Beginners do not have the precision nor the knowledge needed to overcome any of these challenges. And back in 2010, there were even less people on the level necessary to be able to complete such a technical map. Tronic would remain the only pure tech map in that sense for many years, rising to one of the most well-known maps, with the world record being especially prestigious, at last because of an intense fight for the world record in 2019 between the all-time great Cincer and Nim, and a player not so well known at the time, Otter. Cincer and Nim need no introduction. Both rank among the best players we have ever seen, tech specialists, and in 2019 both have been dominant for over a decade. Cincer is often regarded as a deserved prospect for the title of greatest of all time, and Nim is not far off. But who the f is Otter? Well, Otter is the main character, the Dr. Frankenstein of this story. But at first, Otter is a tech enjoyer. A really good one actually, and had many tech-focused bonus records over the time and to this day. Since the 2010s, most innovation in the tech mapping and surf in general can be found on bonuses. Having less regulation, like not having to reach a decent length, bonuses serve as the playground for mappers' creative freedom and innovation. Otter's attention was caught by Bonus 1 on Surf Cartoon, made by Gorange Ninja. This symmetrical bonus had a special feature. It could be completed without ever stopping going downwards. At no point the map design forces the player to go upwards or even horizontal. Every ramp touch only serves a small change in trajectory of the fall to avoid the floors. Of course, that's not easy to pull off. The bonus still gives you the option for a slower route, an easier one, with slowing yourself down by flicking off horizontally after the ramps and spin downward. But the continuous falling aspect is one half of what become Frankenstein's or Otter's monster. We can find the other half in the place that's familiar with spawning evil, Austria. Home to one of the most creative mappers ever, Spy Complex. In 2018 and 19 he really established himself as an innovator with bonuses that had a unique feel to them. Coming up with new obstacles, utilizing smaller ramps, but mainly forcing the player to figure out a flow for themselves. Not reaching out with a helping hand, yet demanding good execution of your route to complete the bonus. This innovative and unapologetic approach makes Spy Complex one of the most beloved mappers in the community, with some of the most hated bonuses in the game. With Otter enjoying these two styles of maps and having got his fingers dirty in the Hammer map editor with his first map, Queen of the Ween, and experimenting a bit in bonuses, he came up with a new concept for a map. Vertical, unintuitive, unapologetic, and most importantly, full speed all the time. And so, Otter went to work. Gameplay first, detailing later. But making gameplay for a map that's played basically in freefall at all time is not easy. 100 hours for gameplay alone. That would later be beaten in 20 seconds. Countless hours of testing by some of the best tech players and other mappers. Then a dark theme with eyes and hearts with red accents to top it all off. And then, finally, on the 19th of August 2020, Surf Blackheart gets released to the surf community. And with this gameplay, backlash and criticism has to be expected. But nobody could have seen coming the direction this discussion went. Is Surf Blackheart even surf? Does this belong on a surf server? But before you make up your mind, let's take a look at the map. How it was intended to be run. How people figured out ways to complete it without going full speed. And afterwards, you can form your own opinion if that map should have been added as a map and carry the label Surf. I reached out to Nordberg, who currently holds the world record on the map on CSGO Surf Heaven servers. He explained his route to me in amazing detail and makes this whole video possible. Huge thanks to him. We will look at the map in the way it was intended to be surfed. Non-stop, going down as quickly as you can. There are currently only 10 surfers across KSF and Surf Heaven that have finished a full speed run. All the other 59 finishers use strategies to take some speed out of it to make it easy. The vast majority of them have completions for the sole sake of completions and use so-called cheese routes to make a finish possible. There's a video by the Ancient One with an explanation on how to cheese your way to a completion if you want to be the 70th finisher. Just a heads up, it's still not easy. But enough chit chat, let's get into it. To run this map, and I mean properly run this map, you need to forget everything you know about the normal surf, because it doesn't apply here. Usually you want to gain and keep as many units as possible by correctly boarding and surfing the ramps. Correctly means parallel to the ramp at the moment you make contact with it and make contact as soon as possible. The problem is that these units you see are only representing horizontal velocity, basically how fast you move in the XY dimension. But if your map has the premise to be fully vertical, like Blackheart, horizontal speed becomes worthless. So for Blackheart, forget clean boarding, because what's the worst that's gonna happen? You lose horizontal units? Doesn't matter. Every single ramp you touch should only provide enough horizontal momentum required to perform the next spins and turns and not hit any floors or walls. So what applies to every single ramp here? Spend as little time on them as possible, because nothing is quicker to get you down than freefall, and every surfable surface is by definition not freefall. You can see it right from the start. World record holder Nordberg jumps as far as he can from the start zone and avoids hitting the first slope at the very top, but rather hit it as late as possible. He then positions himself at the left edge, continues to the first ramp and goes into the first left spin at a very steep angle. A normal person that is not going for the record here would surf the ramp from right to left with a little flick to make the following spin more manageable by gaining horizontal units at the cost of some vertical ones. The next section is where things start to get really out of hand. Minimal flick off the ramp, followed by a sharp right turn, using the little free space here to set up to skip the third ramp with a super quick left turn. But by skipping the ramp he also misses out on the horizontal momentum he would get surfing it, making the next weave, the quick left-right left, a nightmare. To get past it, Nordberg aligns on the right side for a better angle and still barely avoiding the edges. Nordberg throws in a 180 while clearing the last floor. After sliding onto the next ramp, there is a corner to cut to the left, followed by a pillar-hugging right-hand turn and then an open 720-degree left-hand spin before landing onto the next ramp. If you look closely, the ramp before could have actually been left at an even steeper angle, which would allow for a more vertical line through the spins. So if you want to beat the record, that might be the part to attack. But remember, it looks easy. Okay, well, it looks manageable at the 10% speed, but when we switch to real time, the speed you have built up by now turns this into not so manageable anymore. Talking about not manageable, ramp 5 is left close to the red wall frame to the right to set up the next skip. After turning to the right, you do not circle around the pillar like a loser, but instead use all the downward speed to make a very quick left turn and with that skip the whole pillar. Nordberg said that the ramp setup for the skip is very difficult because of the speed you have and the precision it needs, and only God knows what difficult means to a man that has spent 60 hours grinding this map. He also says that he didn't got the best angle himself here in this record run, and now that he mentions it, oh yeah, I can clearly see that. Kinda embarrassing really. But what you're gonna do? The teleport, which is just here because the map would otherwise not fit on the grid, gives you a little break from fast falling and lets you fall a little bit slower. Only thing important here is to set yourself up to board the next ramp on the top of either side so you can flick early, if you can even call it a flick. You just don't want to slide all the way down to the bottom. Leaving early allows here for a very steep angle for the next section. This section would be a 90-degree right turn, 450-degree left spin. That's 1 1/4 rotation by the way, and a 270 right spin before you reach the next ramp. So nothing too crazy. The so-called X ramp is the only ramp Nordberg comes close to actually surfing. He flicks from the ramp because you need to take the next weave with wide turns to keep some of the horizontal speed to clear the gap and quickly 180 onto the next ramp. I'm sorry, I need to quote Nordberg here as I have finally reached the point I have absolutely no idea what is going on anymore. I mean, look at this, a left turn, a right turn, left spin, a right turn, slide, left turn, insanely soft touch on the ramp combined with the nastiest head check I've ever seen, followed by another left turn, another right turn, shaking a bit, left, right, and that's it. Whew, sweet Jesus, what happened there? To be absolutely honest with you, there were some details in the last section that I skipped over. But seriously, intentionally hitting the wall after the insane ramp touch into head check to lose some units to make it underneath the thing, but still having enough horizontal units to complete the following weaves? Who is supposed to believe that? And why did he paint it? Like there is a soul in the world that could react to anything at this speed. But okay, this has to be hands down the greatest display of muscle memory and hand-eye coordination I've ever seen in my life. Most of the time, understanding things will actually take the magic out of it. But honestly, since I've looked into the run, I'm even more amazed now when watching it at full speed. That all of these super precise movements are done at this speed just blows my mind. Just to have it mentioned, Batman has a TAS run on the map that does 2 more skips and is overall just falling at an even steeper angle and with much more speed, resulting in a 3-second minus on the current record. But there might be no other map where theoretically humanly possible lays further apart from practically humanly possible. If we look at the map's release, the reception from the community was similar in nature to that of when Tronic was released 10 years earlier. Some applauded the mapper for the innovative and challenging gameplay, while others criticized the exact same thing. The big CSGO servers didn't hesitate, and shortly after, Surf Blackheart was available on all of them. But over on the KSF Discord, the place for the very core of the Surf community, the discussion shifted from liking or not liking the map to some harder to answer questions. But if you wonder why the opinions and actions of a single server that had the smallest player base of the big servers at the time, sees the least traffic and runs on the oldest game, are so important for the Surf world, in very short, it has the longest history, it's the most competitive, and it has the most active community for everything around Surf, mapping, contests, tournaments, and all the best servers are on KSF, and every world map record, the true world record, is also on KSF. And so their decision what map gets uploaded to their servers and also how maps are served, if there are questions about it like the max velocity or lasers and skips, etc., have a great meaning in the Surf world. And here two questions got raised. First, is Blackheart actually Surf? And second, if yes, should it be uploaded to the servers? The question about Surf or no Surf is more a question of balance. There are other maps that have a very vertical layout, where you spend most of the time falling, but just not all the time. There are also ramps on other maps that you surf downwards, just not all the ramps. Where's the line? Going upwards on a ramp counts as surf and going horizontal counts as surf, but going downwards is not surf anymore? Or is it when you exclusively go downwards? You do not spend enough time on ramps. How much time do I need to stay on a ramp before it constitutes a surf ramp? Or is it how much percentage of a total run I need to spend on a ramp? To be honest, I've never even thought about how much time I spend on ramps per run, so I can't answer any of that, to be honest. The other question was, should it be released on the server if it counts as a surf map? The strongest argument against the release is the short runtime. 20 seconds is generally considered too short for a main map. There are a few maps that are shorter, but they are super old classics, and frankly, we hopefully have raised the bar for what a map should look like since Surf Elite in 2006. It's 8 Surf and would annoy the people going for 100% completion. What a terrible argument that is. No mapper nor admin should base any decision on if the completionists out there will have a great time running it or not. Well, it's just not fun. Well, luckily nobody forces you to play anything. Even if you go for 100% completion, you are the one setting that goal. Nobody does it for you. And yes, maybe the map only has a handful of completions after a couple of months, but this is still a community-made and driven game mode. It's not about fulfilling rates. Blackheart was not a box office flop. Nobody cares how many people play it. If the handful of people that actually played it enjoyed it, and there is no argument that Blackheart provides a very unique tech surf experience, then it was already worth it having it made and available to play. But at the end of the day, it's not up to you, it's not up to me. The last word, actually the only word in this decision, lays with the head admin at the time, Sam, who had to approve every map that was meant to be uploaded to the servers. And he decided, quote, "I do not recognize Blackheart as a surf map, but as a fall map instead, which has what feels like 3 ramps which are only used to fall a little bit less vertical at times." The decision would not end the discussion. However, it would destroy any hope to get Blackheart as a map onto KSF. It would eventually find its way onto KSF though, but not as a map, but as a bonus for Cavo's Surf Revolution that was released in late October of 2020, 2 months after the initial release of Blackheart. Blackheart's own 3 bonuses have yet to be published on KSF. After initial disappointment, Otter tried to see the positive in it all. With how big the controversy has become and how much attention it caught, it provided exposure to the map and hard tech surf in general. He wasn't allowing the setback to deter him from his mapping work either. Since then, he has released another map and a couple of bonuses, still hard and still fast technical surf, but not purely vertical anymore. But he reassured me that that has nothing to do with the KSF decision, but rather that his map is an evolving style and he's just not interested in fully vertical maps right now. Otter also told me he's working on another map as we speak, which is planned to be released in the upcoming weeks, and I personally can't wait to see it and hopefully play it on KSF.